Welcome everybody to Tipsy Testing. As Arlene already knows, I'm Jessica Moore, and we're joined today. I'm the Customer Success and Partner Manager at Inflectra, and I'll be moderating our panel today. And today we have with us Saima Prabhu, who is with Magenic, and I am going to tell you a little bit about her. She's the global head of quality engineering and DevOps at Magenic. She brings over 24 years of industry experience spanning across different verticals pertaining to manufacturing, design, marketing, sales, development, quality assurance, and business management, thus enriching her with a well-defined perspective of the industry and enabling her to bridge the gap between business and technology. Saima's passionate about continuously building her group through investments in new technology, technological transformations, employee growth, and employee thought leadership. She is a firm believer in giving back to the community and motivates her team to contribute to open source frameworks, along with enabling women in technology and girls in technology programs. She holds a bachelor's degree in electronics and a master's in computer science from the University of Pune, India, and her world revolves around her husband, Ashley, her kids, Ethan and Isabel, and her fur baby, Cashew, all of whom we'll hopefully see at some point during this broadcast. Saima, would you like to tell us a fun fact about yourself?
Oh, definitely. And before that, I do have to say that when I wrote all this up, I did not realize how difficult it would be to read all. I think you did amazing reading all of that. I thought you'd take a line or two out of it. I'm like, let's see, this is what managers are, right? Let's give all the data you need and then she'll pick what she wants out of it.
Saima, it was too good. I couldn't leave any of it out.
So fun fact. I actually have two. Am I allowed to be goofy and give two?
Yeah,
definitely.
So the first one was when I was 4 years old, and we were at a company party. My dad was a general manager in a manufacturing company, and we were in a company party, and his boss asked me, a 4-year-old, "Hey, what are you going to do when you grow up?" And I looked at him so seriously, and there were so many people there, and I said, "I'm going to be a smuggler." I was like, what is wrong with you? Where did she even learn that word from? And well, not that I knew a lot of that meaning. I used to watch a lot of Bollywood movies, and I knew that smugglers had a lot of money. And so that's how I was as a child. That's a fun fact. The second fun fact that has been going around my workplace and people are teasing me about is because of the work from home that I started, and instead of adding another desk to the house that already has enough furniture, I'm using my ironing board. So my laptop is on top of an ironing board in the guest bedroom. And I sit on the bed and I work. So it's interesting because there's no back support. So it keeps your back straight. And it works as a stand-up desk. So I'm getting teased that when I'm back at work, they're going to remove my desk and give me an ironing board because it's better for my back. But I have to say, I'm so proud of myself. Like the ironing board works perfect for my height when I'm standing, when I'm sitting on the bed. It's so perfect.
I think that's great. Necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Right.
That's really handy. I might use that now.
Seriously, I know.
And since you're used to your ironing board beforehand, so the muscle memory is that you're comfortable with it. So if you're standing, it doesn't feel difficult, and so that's fun facts. I'm weird in that way.
Those are great fun facts. And we also have with us today Adam Sandman. As usual, Adam was a programmer from the age of 10. He's been working in the IT industry for the past 20 years. He's currently the Director of Technology at Inflectra Corporation, and might I add, a fantastic boss. He is interested in technology, business, and innovation. And Adam,
hello.
You've been having to pull out different fun facts now for weeks.
We're scraping the bottom of the barrel now, and we may want to have Jessica come up with some fun facts for her. So because I always feel like she and Taya never get to give any. So maybe next week you should prepare one. but I won't put you on the spot today. So my fun fact is one that my daughter said I should have mentioned a while ago, and she's going to be editing these videos, so she should know. So when I was young, my mother would always tell me, you have to finish your food, right? You're young Jewish mother, you have to finish your food, eat your food. Why didn't you finish that? So we went to a restaurant, and this is in Britain in the 80s, and they brought us a cheese board where they bring you 3 cheeses on a board, and they put it at my table, and at the end of the meal, I said the waitress came back and said, "Where's the cheese gone?" And I'd eaten 3 entire cheeses, 3 whole cheeses, and I couldn't. I felt ill. I mean, and I had to eat all this. I kept stealing all this bread from everyone, trying to have enough bread so I wouldn't throw up. And I ate all the 3 whole cheeses, 4 whole baguettes, and I was like, "My goodness, how do you eat all this stuff normally?" You go, "You're not supposed to eat all of them." But you always tell me you're supposed to finish your food. I didn't eat cheese for a year. But anyway, so to this day, my kids always remind me, "Dad, the cheese board." Yeah, all right. So that's my somewhat fun fact.
Do you remember what
So
kinds
next-
they were?
What's that? What kind they were?
I said
Yeah,
next time we have.
Saima, go.
Oh, I was just joking. The next time we're with him, we are not going to order shared appetizers of a cheese board.
Yeah, we like the whole thing. No, I think a whole smoked cheese, a whole cheddar, and a whole. In America, you call it Gouda. We call it Gouda. But yeah, 3, one of each. Not. There was some full piece of cheese that you get in a supermarket, and I had a 2-course meal before that.
A lot of cheese.
Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness. I was like, how do people eat this? I kept saying, this can't be right. Something's wrong. But I didn't want to tell my mother. The family would all yell at me. I'm going to yell at me. I don't want to do that. So, you're only a kid.
Right.
That's cool.
That's a good one. I don't know that is scraping the bottom of the barrel. I think that.
Okay. I have a
good.
related one for next week. Then I know that there's a follow-on for that one, but we'll do it next week.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, since we're already talking about fun facts and fun and ridiculous things, I'm going to start with a question that we got last week, or perhaps 2 weeks ago, because it is interesting and clever and creative and a little goofy. So it is from Paul Harris. I want to make sure he gets credit. What is the most ridiculous, badly planned, ill-advised thing or feature or product or solution you have ever been asked to test?
That's an interesting one. Did you want to go first? Go ahead.
No, you go first. I've got to think of one. I've got to think of a second one.
So I've tested a lot of different products, right? Being in testing for now nearly 20 years. And then I live testing through my testers and test engineers right now. There are so many out there. There are just so many out there. But I think the worst ones are when they created an entire package, and I won't name a lot, but for an insurance company for 2 years, and then they shelved it. So I thought that was a lot of work down the drain to just do a product and then shelve it. And this was before the Magenic days, so putting disclaimers out there. But that's hard. It's one that just shows that the concept was never baked. And the best part about testers is a human mind is always thinking about why is this product being created? How are people going to use it? What's the importance of this product? And from day one, we were like, this makes no sense. Why would people use this? And 2 years into the making, and they scrapped it. So tons of work, tons of hours of labor and love and sweat went into a product that just got shelved.
I got a lot of time and resource.
Yeah. And it took, I think it was a good experience at the end of it when you look back, right? At that time, I know I came home and I was crying and I was telling my husband after maybe picking a few fights at home on purpose kind of thing. After that, I was like, this is really sad. I put 2 years into it and they've shelved this product. And I remember how mad I was about the whole thing and, a lot of emotions. But then after years, I realized, as in our profession as testers, we have to give our very best. And in the end, it's a business decision what people are going to do. And now when I have my business hat on, I'm so thankful they never let that product go in the market, because it would have been a sorry state. So.
The one that I know of, and again, I wasn't as directly involved. I was more from I'm more from the development side than on the testing side. But my old company, Sapient. There's a movie called Startup.com, yes, and they were the feature consulting firm in it. And I remember this project because I was working on our intranet, and when we were involved with this team trying to help them, and it was called GovWorks, and it was trying to automate like parking meters and paying things and YMCA. It was basically automating e-government. But this is back in the late 90s when we were on dial-up and trying to do these things, and old grandmothers trying to pay all their parking online, and all this stuff that just wasn't ready yet. And they had all this money from VCs to burn through to build this thing. And if you watch the movie Startup.com, which you really should, it's a fun movie, and you just see, and it's sort of sad, an idea that was ahead of its time, run by people who really didn't know what they were doing, aided by a consulting firm that was happy to take their money. Sorry, Sapient. And a culture that at the time that was like throwing money at anything.com. Literally, you could have called it anything.com and it would have been, funded for $2 million. And it was just a nutty time. Every single business in that year of, I think, January to May 2000 and late 2099, every one of our clients was doing these crazy .com things. And by May 2000, I say by June 2000 already, and certainly by the end of the year, every one of them was finished, was dying. It wasn't that the product didn't work; the business didn't exist. We'd have a project ending. Oh, the client's gone, doesn't exist anymore. Oh, mine too. Where are you going to go next? Oh, this project. We got on the project, and 2 weeks later, that project would be cancelled too because the business would go away. It was crazy. It was like you were rolling from team to team, all of which were disappearing within weeks of each other. It was like, so I guess it's a bit like now, really, but. It was more dramatic, and it was only in the .com sectors. It wasn't quite as traumatic as the coronavirus, where it's everyone. It was just this sector of businesses that had promised to change everything as long as you put .com on the end of it. There was an old joke: you could sell you could sell $1 for 95 cents and get funding for that idea. That was the business model, basically.
And I think that was a interesting phase. I was in Silicon Valley at that time, and I was in a startup company, but all startups were crazy at that time. You'd get free food, free massages. It was just such a different working lifestyle. It was totally different in those days. A lot of those, I think 90% of those startups never made it through, but it was a very different work experience, I'd say.
I bet that was an exciting time to be in this industry.
Right. Yeah, I was in Boston rather than in DC then. So that was Boston and San Francisco were the two kind of hubs of tech in America at that time.
Yeah.
Saima, where were you back then?
I was in a beautiful city called Morgan Hill, not in California. So I think south of San Francisco, if you wanted to map it. People know Gilroy better as the Garlic City.
Yeah.
8 to 10 miles. Yeah, 8 to 10 miles from there. Beautiful, like hills, gorgeous. I do love Minnesota too, but Morgan Hill was gorgeous. I can't deny it. Very gorgeous.
It's nice to have opportunities to see lots of places. In Minneapolis, you have all the lakes.
It is. It is a beautiful city too. Yes.
Okay, so next question. This one may be a little bit more serious because we are in the time of a pandemic, but from a managerial perspective, we'd love to hear, in your leadership role, how is it to lead during this health crisis, and how has your leadership style changed?
Oh, that is a very, very nice question. Interesting one. And if I can get a little long-winded on this one, right? My leadership style has over the years been one of, I've always tried to be a leader that I would want to have as a leader, like be somebody you would want somebody to treat you like, right? And there are a few things that are very important for me. One is when you're a leader, you have to have an extremely clear vision. But I have to have that. Second is You got to learn to be very empathetic. It has to be about the people. It can never be about the power of your possession. After that, it's also a lot, for me personally, it's you lead by example. If you're not willing to do something, you shouldn't be expecting people to do it either. And then the biggest for me is always building a culture where you have a sense of belonging and inclusion. So for me, I've always looked up to my seniors to give me that kind of environment. And I've always emulated to be a leader like that. So given that that is something I strive for, with COVID, I'd say the only difference is reminding yourself to be extra empathetic and sensitive to people, because there's a lot of anxiety out there. People are struggling through different things. You may never know how their morning has started or what's happening in the extended family or in their family. And I plea and I encourage people to be empathetic. Open your minds, listen a bit before you jump to conclusions, and just don't lose your temper all the time, right? So those are the changes in COVID, but otherwise the leadership style still remains the same.
Are most of the people with whom you usually work located in the Minneapolis area, or are they spread all over the U.S.?
They are spread all over the U.S., and we also have a big offshore team in Manila, in Philippines. So we are pretty global.
So engaging from Minneapolis all over the world is not unique to the pandemic. This is a work situation that you've been dealing with for.
Absolutely. I think the difference is we all used to go into the office every day. Some of them would, maybe work from home once a week or something. So that has changed. We don't see each other. We don't live off each other's energy, at least the ones in the local office. That definitely has changed. All your cooler stories and your coffee chats and just, at times people have auras, and when you walk around, you notice that somebody's either having a wonderful day or somebody's sad just by body language. And it's easier to just, make a note of it and say, I should talk to this person, maybe chit chat a little bit more, see how they're doing, or follow up in 2 days. That is a little hard when you're not in that office environment. So I have to put reminders to myself to ping people that I think might be struggling.
Adam just recently had mentioned that in a team meeting too, or in an email, I think, which I thought was really sensitive in that it's so easy to use Slack channels or Google Chat or different means of communicating with people that aren't video or telephone, but they can become transactional really quickly. And then you lose that face-to-face conversation. You lose the water cooler conversations or the catching someone in the hallway. And I think for people who like to engage with people, that can be a challenge. So he was emphasizing that too.
Well, actually, I just written that down. I was like, oh, I should mention that one because it was in my. No, you're right, and it's interesting because I talked to people at the company. We have when this thing happened, we started. When it first happened, we had some plans. Like, okay, we have to communicate. So we do a morning meeting with the development team, which we will talk around. We have a 9:30 call. The marketing BD, the business dev team, has some standing calls, and so that we kind of got down at the beginning. So that really helped make up for the fact we did set a meeting on a Wednesday in the office. We meet online. What I think we struggled with, and we didn't realize we were struggling, I think was for the first month that alone got us through, was in the last month or so. So the first month that was fine. Second month, number two, the lack of one-on-one stuff. I started to realize there's a problem. Like Jessica and I would often bump into each other in the office, or Tara and I, or me and Simon or Mike, or any number of members of the team. We would like to have these anecdotal chats, and we've missed that. And so we do on Google Chat, which is like Slack. It's text-based, but it becomes very transactional. And I found that's something we're trying to encourage people to do. Is just instead of, if you're going to email someone, don't just. Especially we're lucky, Google Chat is really good. You hit the button in the text thread and it starts a video session. So nice. I think the more tools can do that, where you can switch modes, because that's the thing. If I don't know Slack as much. I used to use it. I haven't used it for a while. But if they don't let you put video into it, then you have to be more disciplined. So, but I think regardless of the tools you have, encouraging people to not simply work in the medium they're currently in, but switch mediums when it makes sense. We're also very lucky. I think a lot of us have realized how much we actually miss seeing each other. And we're very lucky because we actually have an office that can do social distancing. So we've actually allowed people to opt in to come into the office some days a week.
Nice.
And that's actually, I think, helped be a pressure cooker. We also found that some people love working at home, and it's great, and that's fine. Other people don't have a place to work, and they were having major anxiety. And so by having them be able to come to the office in a safe way when they need to and where it's allowed by the law has been good. So, but not everyone wants to do that. Some people want to stay home because they're in a higher risk group or more anxious. So I think by not making one size fits all, we've been able to accommodate different working styles and different needs to keep everyone on balance. But one thing I did want to mention, which I think cropped up this week, as a manager, you have an imperative, I think, what Saima said, is to look for people who may not know they need help, but they need help. And that's very hard because if you walk around the office and someone's sad or looks anxious or stressed, you can deal with it. But when you're on a conference call or meeting, they might not feel empowered. They may not know they're stressed. So as a manager, I think it's important to sort of check in and just say, how are you doing? And when you're chatting with someone, like something wrong, and making sure that you're there for someone. And I would say also as a manager, you have to think of yourself as a therapist. The number of times I've been dealing with people at the company about all kinds of stuff like moving houses and realtors and daycare and kids and college students and all these things. I've had conversations with everyone about everything. So we get to know each other way too well now. But it's also, I think, as a manager, important that you do that. That many people may be at home with only their family or maybe by themselves. They don't have their friend group. And as an employer, you are a sense of normalcy. The work is something that's still the same thing as before pandemic. And creating that normalcy is important for people's sense of sanity and sense of self.
Yeah, I think that's true. And when you're lucky, you're in a work situation like I am, where I really like my colleagues, and it's fun to be able to catch up with them and find out what's going on. It makes for a deeper work experience and work environment. So it's great to have managers, Saima and Adam both, who are cognizant of that and work to cultivate that and continue a good environment even outside of a physical office.
Yeah, and I have to say, I've been very fortunate to work with extremely good people. They're all so nice that, you don't feel stressed as a manager. And it doesn't matter what your title is. Everybody reaches out to everyone. There's a lot of virtual happy hours that goes on at different levels in the company. People just hang out with their friends virtually. Next week, we're even going to do as a kids status update meeting. So normally I do it with my group, and I told the group of 60 odd that if anybody would like to bring their kids in, the little ones especially, they can give their status update and they can tell how their parents are doing and how frustrated or happy they are. And we're planning to do that. Now different groups want to do that, so we will do it. It will be a nice babysitting for certain people that can give me the kids for an hour, and I will go round robin and ask each of the child how they're doing and what did they learn. I think it will be cute.
That will be cute.
If we did with teenagers, it would be different. Sorry.
My teenagers are not allowed at that meeting. They don't want to come on the meeting. I literally asked one of them that would she host it, because kids might be, less intimidated by a teenager, like an older person like me chatting away. But they were like, no. So.
Well, maybe your staff is calm and the people with whom you work are calm because you are calm. You've always exuded a very chill and in control aura. So,
thank you.
Again, leading by example.
That's not an aura. Can I give a shout out, by the way, Jessica? Your daughter just graduated, speaking of teenagers, right?
She did. Yes, she graduated from college, 22, and we'll see what happens next. So thank you. Yes, that's cool. That's exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel for all those parents right now going through virtual graduations for either high school or college, because I didn't realize how bittersweet it would be to have that moment on television as opposed to live. You feel like, especially with college, they've sunk so much of themselves into it. They've worked so hard. You've invested so much of your own emotional support and financial support to have it taking place, there's without their names being read on a big screen in your living room. It was a little different than what we had expected, but it's, I think the key for her was just being done. So yeah, check.
Congratulations, Emma.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our cocktails. Saima,
Right.
What are you drinking today?
So I'm drinking a bourbon. It's the Woodford Reserve. So I enjoy that. And there's a silly story but goes with it. So I was not into bourbons. I was more into scotch. And my husband loves bourbons. And we were at a restaurant, and not recently, a little bit back. And he ordered a flight of bourbons, and he wanted me to try it so that I'm open-minded and willing to try new things. And when I was growing up in India, there was a medicine given to children that was called Woodwards gripe water. I don't know if any of you have ever heard about it.
I know this. I'm British. Yeah, I know this. Great water.
Okay, thank you. So Woodwards, and this is Woodford. And so I enjoyed it in the flights that he had ordered. I enjoyed this the most. And then next time we were at a restaurant, and I just go like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a Woodwards. And he just couldn't stop laughing. And the waitress thought we were crazy people. Like maybe we had too many even before we came in.
Wow.
But yes, this is an actual drink, and it's not a gripe water, and my stomach is not hurting.
Adam, what are you having today?
Oh, I'm afraid I promised on Twitter it was going to be something more elaborate than it really is, but I'll do it next week. I was going to make a corpse reviver, which is a great cocktail, but unfortunately my last meeting ran over, so I had to run downstairs and make something that I could do in 2 minutes. So this is a gin and tonic with what's my favorite gin? The Alchemist and Elderflower tonic, which is nice.
Ooh.
But next week I will try and do the corpse reviver, which is a very elaborate, many ingredients and horribly strong thing.
Well, what you have for today is very timely given the weather. It's got to
Yes.
be close to 90 and really humid, so a refreshing gin and tonic seems like the perfect thing.
It's humid and muggy here in DC.
Yes, very. My drink is really more about the glass today because my husband went camping and cleared out the liquor cabinet. He took the Hendrix and he took the Lafroig. He took all of the things that I might have used to make something a little fancier. So I just there was dark rum left. So I grabbed dark rum and pineapple juice and squirted a little creme de cacao in it. It's actually pretty good, but it's not an official thing.
Where did you say he was going? He went camping?
Glamping. Yeah. So
right.
For one person, this car was packed and there was a cardboard box, a good sized cardboard box full of liquor. So
where are they
I don't
camping?
know if he'll remember the time he has, but I hope it's relaxing.
I hope it's level ground. They'll find him in the river. You'll be called to the police.
Yeah, I hope not. But if he goes down, he'll go down happy. Or drunk at least.
Well, and he won't feel the pain. He'll be in a zone. He won't feel any of the pain of rolling down.
He'll be like the cook in the Titanic, the only one who survived because he was drunk.
Right? Maybe
Supposedly,
like that.
he was in the water, and the only person who survived who was in the water, as opposed to on a raft, was the cook. I think that's right. Allegedly, who knows? See, saves your life. Booze. Kids.
Another fun fact. So I want to give Arlene Andrews a live shout out. She's been a loyal listener and she has submitted questions virtually every week since we've been doing this. She's taking the week off from a question, but she's actually still here, tuned in live. And so I'm going to pull one of her questions from a previous week because it's just kind of fun. Is there a song, Adam, that sums up your philosophy?
Oh, yes. And I actually wrote this one down because I knew I'd forget halfway through. The song was actually by a band, maybe in America it wasn't big, called D-Ream. Do you remember D-Ream, Saima? D-Ream? Anyone? D-Ream? Mid-90s sort of pop techno. The song was called Things Can Only Get Better. And I think it does some. I'm an optimist in nature, and I try and always look things going to get better, whether it's work, family, you name it, maybe even politics. That's a lot of optimism right now. But I'll still cling on to that. We have the in our power to make it better at least. So yeah, D-Ream, Things Can Only Get Better is definitely. I play that when I'm feeling down. I need to pick me up as well.
That's a great one. Saima, what about you?
Okay, I'm going to be a wet blanket on this one because music, I like listening to music, but my brain is always churning so much that the music is always in the background that I never focus on the words. But recently, this is how music lovers will react to what I just say. Recently, my kids were playing board game with me and my husband, and the song Red Red Wine came up, and I was like, oh, this doesn't sound good. The Red Red Wine, I remember it was so much better. And my son is like, don't tell me you like the remix. And I'm like, I love the remix. And see, that's when they were like, you have no clue what is good music, what is what. And I'm like, that's true. My brain talks so much in my head that music's not for me. If it's going on, it's okay, but I won't put it on by choice.
But the original was Neil Diamond? Then it was remade by UB40. And then
yes,
by someone else.
I love the UB version. And my kids think that's crazy. My 13-year-old and 18-year-old were laughing at me that I like the UB version more than the original.
Do you know what a UB40 actually is? Is it a fun fact? It's the unemployment benefit form in Britain.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
really?
That's what it is. Yes, it was. I guess it was in the 80s when Margaret Thatcher made everyone unemployed. The last. So it's the unemployment benefit claim form that I guess they used to have in Britain back in the 80s. Can you imagine having the W9? Hey, W9, it's a great name for a band. No, we're not going to do
that. You are a wealth of fun facts today. That's another good one.
I think it's the gal factor, right? There's two beautiful, gorgeous, intelligent women on the phone, and Adam's just...
I'm inspired, yes. I'm inspired.
That's inspired, he's motivated, it's all coming out today.
I think that's it.
I do miss hanging out with you guys at SDPCon and places too. We have fun when we hang out.
We do have fun. Aparna Uluri, who is a colleague of Saima's and a colleague of ours. Aparna submitted a question this week too. And her question is, what changes are you seeing in QE or software due to COVID-19?
He's on the call right now. Hi, Aparna.
Hi, Aparna.
Hi, Aparna. Okay, so the changes that I'm really seeing is given that the market it's a tough market, right? So what all companies are trying to do is they're trying to save whatever money they have. And so the budget is going to get spread interestingly. And when I say interestingly, people are going to look at what provides more value, what provides more efficiency, and that's what's going to happen. And then when we talk about value and efficiency in QA, then it's going to go about, are we testing the right things? Should we be utilizing so much testing horsepower right now? What are the different automation things we can do in testing? Are there any good testing tools out there in the market, like test management tools or reporting tools that can help? I can see companies go more towards that because when the market's going great, everybody's innovative, people are more creative. But when the market's in a little bit of a panic zone and unstable, it is very natural for humans to want to conserve and do something that gives you a guarantee. And it's all going to be looking deep inside and seeing what will give you value. And I think people should do that every single day. But when people are excited, it doesn't happen. Testing is the best profession because we always have to tell and give value of why we are required. I know Adam has a wonderful tool out there. which helps all the testers too. So it's companies like those that are going to see a little bit of change where their tools are going to get more prominent. I see budgets getting cut a little bit in every company. It's just natural. But what I'll tell everybody on the phone, and I know Aparna lives that every day of her life too, is show the value of your work and your team's work. If you're a manager or a leader in a company, the important thing is to show people what your team is producing. Now is more important than ever, so that you continue to get the funding, you continue to keep your jobs, you continue to grow. And if people go, is it manual or automation? I think the human brain is the strongest always. So you are the most important person in the testing group, and how you decide to test, whether it's with automation or with manual, that is the game changer. But I do see automation being more on the forefront nowadays.
Adam, what do you think?
Good question. I mean, good answers, and a lot of that's I think we're seeing too. Obviously, we're a tool vendor, so we see a different sort of perspective that I think a consulting firm like Magenic. What we've seen is an interesting one is that there's definitely a consolidation. First of all, to reiterate what Saima said, people who use our tool and that's what they use a lot, they tend to use more. You potentially even use more of it and drop other tools. And then there are other companies where we were a much smaller part of what their ecosystem, and then they don't renew the tool. They use their other tool. So sort of like the customers that we are an important part of will buy more licenses. The ones that we were a very insignificant part of, we were maybe a small side team, we get dropped. So it's like we're seeing probably slightly fewer customers overall, but bigger and deeper relationships with the ones that we have. And so that's one of the most, I think, sort of, from a tool vendor, that's what I've noticed. Renewals and upgrades are much stronger right now than new buys. The other thing I've noticed is that clients, even and new customers too in this case, where there's a supply chain impact, it's causing a lot of testing. So I remember the same thing happened with Brexit 2 years ago when that first happened. We thought like, oh my God, no one's going to buy tools because everyone's frozen about investment. And that did happen for some clients. But other clients, like one of our clients, they do bananas. They import bananas around the world. And they have all these tools using SAP, and they have to reconfigure everything for the Brexit, the different tax regimes. Whenever there's change, you have to reconfigure your system and test it. So if you're a supermarket and you've got to go online ordering, or you're a restaurant that did it in person, now you're doing delivery, you can reconfigure all your IT systems where you got to test them. So companies will definitely not survive, and therefore they don't need testing, and a whole bunch are doing more testing because they have to change everything, and change means more development, more testing. The other thing I would mention is we've seen also an increased awareness of two other factors. One is performance and security on the non-functional side. I mean, you have to test that now because you're going to be working from home, hitting things all at once. Unemployment benefit sites that no one even thought about before. They weren't designed for spikes. COBOL, everyone's trying to learn COBOL. If you've got a teenager, if you've got a college student who can program, learn COBOL, you get a job right now in many states. And the other thing would be, I would say, continuities. It's a subtle one. The idea that you could roll your own framework and automation, back to what Saima said, I think those are going to start, you're going to see less of that. Because if I have a team, I let them roll their own framework, then when that team maybe leaves, or we can't afford to have them, all of them, we lose all that knowledge. So using industry standard frameworks, open source frameworks, or commercial tools where there's a body of knowledge is more important than having someone try something completely brand new. So I think if you're a test manager or test lead, you should be very critical. If someone says, oh, I'm going to build this new automation framework and only I'm going to know how it works, as a manager, you should be very afraid of that, because in these current economic times, how are you going to support that?
I agree. And I think the whole thing is, if you have a good framework, you can add to it. You don't need to check it away because some other new framework is there. Bring efficiencies in what's good. And if you don't have a good framework, then maybe that's the time when you decide that, you know what, I'm attached to it for XYZ, but it's just not a practical solution. And in that case, then take a framework where either you know that the vendor is going to give you updates regularly and is a responsive vendor, because there's so many times you go to huge vendors and they are never going to be responsive, and or go to open source, depending on what your company prefers. Some people prefer open source a lot, and some absolutely can't do open source. But the whole thing is, go to people that will respond to you. If you're going to a vendor that really doesn't care about what you do and why you bought their product, when you buy it, believe me, they're never going to help you out when you're in support and maintenance phase for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it's a commercial tool, check the support, make sure you're going to get it. If it's an open source tool, look at the commit history, look at the number of tickets and issues raised in the public, like GitHub. You can see that stuff. It's very transparent. And how many contributors there are.
Yes, how often do they give you bills and how often are they solving the tickets? All that is very crucial.
Mm-hmm.
So Saima, Adam touched on this a little bit, but what jobs do you think will be more required in the market post shelter in place?
When it comes to testing specifically, I know a lot of the focus is going to be on non-functional testing. So it's going to be a lot on chaos engineering. There's going to be a lot of jobs on security and performance. Automation is still going to be there. It's not going away. You always need tools to help you do your job better. But it's really going to be the non-functional thing. The other thing I also feel is with the cloud being so dominant right now, whether it's Microsoft or AWS, there's a lot of interesting factors of how you would test on it. I know there's a lot going on AI, but it all depends how companies are going to invest in it. It won't be right away. A lot of investment in the AI, but there's multiple types of AI that you could use. So, but non-functional is where I see the market going. Because non-functional will give them efficiencies that they weren't thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, do you have anything to add to that?
Just that, yeah, cloud. I forgot about cloud. That's companies that were hesitant about the cloud with the coronavirus are far less hesitant now because their IT staff's all over the place. If they were on the we moved a lot of our stuff to cloud internally that we hadn't, like using Gmail, and many of our clients in Europe who were very anti-cloud because of privacy have suddenly changed their minds very quickly, and they need to, and so they're going to need to have people who know how to do this stuff that they didn't have before. Mm-hmm.
We have one final question, and we're going to end on a fun note, going back to drinks as we kick off our weekend. Dolores Hagen has submitted her question, which is, what is your favorite cocktail, as opposed to what are we drinking right now? So Saima, I don't know if it's the same, if bourbon is still the same for you, or if you have something that you like to mix up.
I do have a favorite, and the favorite definitely is gin and soda. I skip the tonic because I'm putting on so much weight, but gin and soda is comfort. So if it's just relaxing, I do like gin and soda. And then the close winning, very close to it, would be the mojitos, but low on sugar. The mint, the mint is delicious, yes.
You should try a Tom Collins, which is a gin and soda with orange in it, or lemon in it, sorry.
See, yes, I can do the lemon, but I can't do if there's any other sweetener or anything else.
No.
Just lemon? Yes, that's
lemon, soda, and gin. It's called I think it's Tom Collins.
Do you have a favorite gin?
I like the Bombay. And it's a reason because when it mixes with the tonic, and if you are with fluorescent light, it kind of shines. And it tastes good.
It's festive as well.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, what about you? What would be your favorite?
Well, the favorite one, I do have a favorite, and I've actually had it on one of these events. I think it was the very first one we did with Mike. Maybe it was Mike Lyles, the one that we forgot to record. Actually, it's called the Casino Monte Carlo. Sorry, not Casino Royale, Monte Carlo, and it's bourbon, Benedictine, Angostura bitters, a cherry, and a little sugar, a little simple syrup. And that's very good.
That's amazing that you can retain all that information in your head.
And I first had that one at Jackie's Sidebar, which was right next to our office. It is long gone. Sorry, Jackie Sidebar, we miss you.
That was a loss. That was a loss for Silver Spring and all of the employees of the World Building.
Well, some of them. most of them would probably have died if they drank that thing.
Well, I want to thank Saima for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Saima, thank you so much. It was really great to catch up with you. Adam, great to wrap up the week with you. And we will catch you next week on Tipsy Testing.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. And
Good weekend.
Thank you for everybody that joined. Big shout out that you removed time to come and join us, and hopefully you were having a drink, because everything would have made more sense if you were having a drink.
Aparna, Arlene, Christina, and Hugo, a former contestant from about 2 months ago. Hi, Hugo.
That's right. Cheers, everyone.